I don't know if today's topic would be sabotage, but there's a lot of it going around. From the Biden administration doing several things previous to Trump taking office. I love how they say we're going to do the transfer of power like we're supposed to do. However, you won't believe some of the things that they are doing to try to make life hard for you and also for the next administration. Also, we're going to talk about the cities, how they are literally falling apart. You already know that. But now we want to not teach our children so they'll be dumb, ignorant, as they grow up in the same mindset that this city's supposed to take care of me. We're going to talk about a few cities and also a few liberal states that are pushing this narrative that your kids they don't need to be smart. They need to be dependent. When you build a wise and smart generation, then they know they can grow up out of the life that they're in. But if you build a dependent and ignorant generation, they know they're right where they need to be because it's like a chirping bird. They're getting fed what they want to hear. And it also makes it lazy. So we're going to talk about that. Also, we're going to talk about the fact of another line cut in the seas. China's close, and it may benefit them that they're cutting these Baltic Sea telecommunication lines. Where are they cutting them from and where are they cutting them to is what's important. And also, again, we're going to talk about the fact that now there has been a death with the flu. Is that going to make this all spiral out of control? Just a few days, 2 weeks to the new administration. Let's dive into these stories today. This video starts right now. Hey guys, welcome to The Max. Thank you so very much for being here today on this beautiful, cool, cold actually, day here in South Mississippi. If you are new to our channel, please go down here, press subscribe. There's a little button right here. We need your support, and we humbly ask that you give us a thumbs up, comment below. That helps us stay in the algorithm, but also spread our message across this platform. Our goal is to be as wise as possible, and when we can share more of the thoughts around some of these stories and how we want to have a conservative, freedom-oriented perspective on things, especially in a Christian-like way with morals and values, then it helps us be better as we try to raise our family in this crazy world. First, let's jump into the Biden administration. How they say they want a friendly transfer of power. I want you to listen to some of the things, just some of the things that he's done, and then we'll talk about the cities. Now, I know I've briefly talked about the fact that he is quietly banning, waterless hot water heaters. Now, that's a big deal because it affects a lot of people. That's one thing. And then we talked about the fact that he is shutting down all the oil reservoirs and all the drilling rights in federal lands all around America. Every coast, from the Pacific to the Atlantic to the Gulf, which is a huge thoroughfare when it comes to oil, and even in Alaska. He's shutting it down, trying to do a permanent ban. Now, Trump said he will reverse it, but this is not what friendly transfer of power looks like, especially 2 weeks previous to the new administration coming in. That's just a few things. Let's keep on going with this list. Biden is now stopping the sale of steel to Japan, trying to stop the market of a U.S. steel company, American-made U.S. steel company, from ableness to sell. So that hurts our manufacturing. Nippon Steel, look into it. We talked briefly about the other day, and we thought they could get an end around and go around Biden, but now they're having to sue them, along with Japan, sue them, so this transaction can go through. Billions of dollars of American manufacturing stopped by the Biden administration. Not only that, listen to this. This is the most scary. You heard about the commutes, and you heard about the fact that he gave clemency to all these death row inmates. Now listen to this one. It's even scarier. The Biden administration just released 11 Yemen terrorists from Guantanamo Bay so they could go back to Oman in the Middle East. Now, do you think they're going to live holistic lives and peaceful lives? No, they are literally Yemeni terrorists that he just released from Guantanamo Bay back to the Middle East. I mean, do we honestly believe that's going to stop the flow of acts of terror? Do we honestly believe that's a good move to release them from Guantanamo Bay? Now, there was a story that came out, and Tim Burchett is trying to stop this money flowing in, but what you don't realize is the Biden administration has been paying $40 to $50 million now. That's with the M, million. Not monthly, not yearly, weekly, to the Taliban. That's how we have what we call quote-unquote peace, and how we got out of Bagram with Afghanistan, is that we are now paying terrorists $40 million a week. Now, what's so sad is Tim Burchett and several of the conservatives have tried to stop this flow of money to terrorism, and the Biden administration has not stopped it. So let's see if Trump will get in there and stop this. This is unbelievable that our money is flowing to terrorists. Now, you talk about how bad it is when it flows to Ukraine. This is flowing to the people that we fought and spent trillions of dollars and lost American lives to. We're now funding terrorism in the Middle East. 40 to 50 million. You don't believe it? Go look at Timbercat's letter he just wrote saying that we've got to stop this. And this is after Sean Ryan has exposed it, Sarah Adams exposed it, Legend exposed it, and then no one's actually taking it serious. But we are actually paying terrorism. And now we just release more terrorism into the Middle East, like they're gonna, again, live a better life now. So this is what the Biden administration is doing to cause problems for Donald Trump coming in. Is that really the right way of transfer of power? 2 weeks before you leave office, your legacy is, just trounced, and you're trying to destroy everything that America stands for. Our oil, our gas, that's manufacturing, steel, manufacturing. The fact that we're sending all our dollars over to places of active terror, and then on top of that, you just release terrorists from our cusp, from us having them and in prisons, and kept away from the terror, and now we want to send them back to be active terror again? Come on, help me make that, help that make sense to me. Now let's jump onto the cities, and this is the thing that scares me the most. The cities are falling to pieces, you know that. New York just came out and said that their subways are overrun, and not only this, they're trying to get people to ride the subways. Did you know that they just got a tax now? If you drive into New York City or drive into bigger cities in New York, they want you to use the transit. So they're wanting you to use public transit that is now dangerous. So they're now going to charge vehicles to come into New York more money. So New York City, for instance, has got a terrible subway system, and it's caused by a lot of crime, a lot of problems. The mayor and the governor are both saying they're going to solve it, and they've not solved it yet. They're actually putting National Guard down there. Not only that, there's a group called the Guardian Angels, which is a civil group that is not legally police. They're trying to go down there too and try to assist people to be safe in the subways. Go look at the footage. It's absolutely scary what's happening in New York subways. But here's the thing. They just came out with a new toll that basically charges every car coming into New York City like $8 or $9. $8 or $9 to drive into the city every day. So that's an average of what? $8 to $9 for 7 days, 56. Say you're only working 5 days a week, so you're $40-something every week. That's $160-something a month just to drive in. What they're trying to do is tell everybody quit driving and start using public transit. But public transit's not safe. These cities are wanting to cause problems. Now, this is the crime part. What about the education part? Well, New Jersey just passed a bill basically where standardized tests are not needed anymore, and that certain guidelines for math, reading, and history are not important. Science, not important. So those thresholds that we hold our kids to get to the next grade are not important. Now, I don't believe in standardized tests. Again, I came up in the public school, hated it. That's why my kids are homeschooled. But to now make our children almost dumber is a sad thing. New Jersey and in Chicago and Illinois, they have dumbed down their education system to where the thresholds do not have to be met for someone to go to the next grade. What we're actually doing is we're making a dumb population. Please don't take offense to that, but that's actually what's happening. If you build an idiocracy and you build a foolishness and you build ignorance to where it's not important to make something better of yourself, the majority of those same people will live on the government's dole. Chicago is a prime example. We are paying more for kids to be in these cities like Chicago and Baltimore and all these other inner cities. They're actually getting more of our tax dollars to teach our children absolutely nothing. Actually, what they're doing is they're indoctrinating a population to become absolutely ignorant. Ability to read, write, and do math is not important and is no longer required. Not only for the students, but for the teachers. Literacy is nothing worth teaching anymore in New Jersey. It says, campus safety reports New Jersey teachers no longer have the requirements to have basic literary tests. So then, therefore, they're dumber teaching your children. New Jersey Democrat Phil Murphy passed a law that states that children and teachers no longer have certain thresholds to be part of the education system. However, there is more money flowing into these kind of places. Again, I bring up Chicago. Listen to this. The union corruption here. They have dumbed down the thresholds for teachers and kids. However, March 13th, 2024, teachers unions seek another $50 billion despite the city being in a $700 million deficit. Chicago is one of the biggest places where they have the most money flowing to kids for kids not to learn nothing. Their IQ levels, their education levels, their reading levels, and math levels are lower than the national scores. However, we're pouring more money to them. So what's actually happening is a lot of this money is flowing into these cities, and it's not going to the teachers who are supposed to be smart to teach the children. It's not going to the children who are supposed to be the ones getting the smarts to get out of this life of poverty in inner city and in this dependency on government. But no, what it's doing is making more fools, more ignorance to where these people live there. One thing we've learned about these cities is if they can keep you living in these cities, keep you completely dependent on their systems, living in government housing, living with public schools, living with food stamps, living with more government assistance, then therefore you are always to their beck and call. You will always be a slave to them because they know without them you are nothing. So what we're actually doing is teach our children to be dumber, and it's on purpose. It's kind of like this situation with H5N1. You know, there's one death in America, and they're now blaming it on the backyard chicken. People will believe that, hook, line, and sinker. But just since we've had that case, go to your local Walmart, go to your local dollar store, go to anywhere in a city, and you will see more masks than you saw just 2 or 3 weeks ago. Go to those places, all because they've heard it on the news that it's dangerous. Instead of doing their due diligence and doing their research and trying to find out more, this population is becoming more and more ignorant. Not because they can't be smart, it's because they've been taught to just take everything hook, line, and sinker. They've been taught to listen to either public school systems. They've been taught to either listen to legacy media. They've been taught to not think for themselves. They've been taught to live off the government, and government's always going to take care of us. And this is just another season where we're just going to have to wear a mask all the time. Go to those places. You don't believe me? Go to your local Walmart, your local grocery store, or go to your local dollar store in these cities, and you'll be surprised how many more masks you're starting to see now. And it's all because it was bred into people at a young age to be ignorant and depend on the government to solve their problems. When we take away thresholds of math, science, and reading, what we're doing is we are making a dumb population. You know, I laugh because just like social media in America is all about entertainment. It's all about making our kids just sit with their phones and not learn anything. Did you know in China and India, that's not the case? Social media is actually made as a narrative for teaching, for knowledge, for wisdom. Like if you look at TikTok here, it's dancing. It's stupid. It's absolutely horrendous how dumb the entertainment is on some of these platforms. However, in China, it's not that way. There's things that's teaching them. Even in some of the other Eastern European countries, even in India. What they're doing is they're not just entertaining their children, they're teaching their children to be more wiser. We wonder why we're losing a lot of jobs to other people from other countries, and our STEM jobs, our doctors, our doctors, our engineers, all those people are becoming not American anymore. You know why? Because we're dumbing down our population and not making thresholds for people to actually teach our children and for our children to actually learn true wisdom and knowledge. It's unbelievable. And this brings me to 2 more stories I want to kind of highlight before we end. This is heartbreaking, and this is coming out of North Carolina. Now, this is the part where, again, government has failed people. We keep giving money to Taliban, we keep giving money to Ukraine, but listen to this. It says, breaking. Buncombe County in North Carolina, which is one of the places hit by Helene, has officially confirmed this afternoon that it will not be waiving or reducing property taxes for homes that no longer even exist in their county because Hurricane Helene has torn it up. This is what happens. This is why you can't put your whole flipping life in the government's hands. This is why you can't depend on fully the government, because we have now gotten to where we're overtaxed, and now in this case where people are begging for the government to help them. They're living in tents and shelters, and now these counties and these cities are so upside down because they want your money so bad that they're willing to overtax you and tax you property tax on houses that are no longer in existence because of the Hurricane Helene took them out. And they're not given a break or reprieve for their families. That's called a land grab. You know what that's called? That's called government taking your lands. We already are mad that we have to pay property tax. But the fact is now these people have to pay property tax for something that's not even there now. So they've lost their home, they've lost their livelihood, insurances are being difficult, FEMA's not paying them, and all of a sudden now they have to pay more tax on land for a house that's no longer there. livable. Isn't that pathetic? This is what happens when we rely on government. This is why you can't allow your children to be taught in public education. This is why you can't live in cities where your whole life is based on what government can do for us. Because what happens is then the government will let us down. Then the fact is your dependency on them will falter because they don't care about us. They care about your votes. They care about making sure you feel like you need them. But ultimately, you don't need them. It's time to build independence. And like, for instance, there was a group of Amish and there was a group of people coming in building tiny homes. The government told them they couldn't do it anymore. So the government's not helping them, but then they're making laws and ordinance to where people can't come in and help them. And then all of a sudden now they're trying to overtax them. This beautiful, precious land up there, I wonder what's actually happening. Are they doing a land grab? Is the city and county screwing their own people? I mean, the government has already done that. The federal government's done it. Now you're seeing the state and counties do that. So why do we have representation? Why do we have a congressman? I mean, you know, we hear about like Tim Burchett and we hear about Thomas Massey and we hear about some of these that are trying to do good things, but they're just 1 in 500. I mean, are they really working for us? No, I'll tell you what they're working for. Here's another story that should blow your mind. Since 2020, U.S. politicians have beat the stock market hand over fist. So the S&P 500 and what it makes, almost all congressmen and Senate who invest in the market, who play the market, who actually trade, literally have beat that percentage. So you have people like Mark Green, Garrett Graves, Ron Wyden, John Rutherford, Pete Sessions, Dan Sullivan, Susan Collins, Ed Case, Mitch McConnell, Kathy Manning, Sheldon Whitehouse, Mark Wayne Mullen. These are Republicans and Democrats. All of them have made over 15, 20, 30, 40% of their money in returns. How would they be that good at the stock market? Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, all these people are making hand over fist out of the stock market. So they're not actually working for you to help you keep your money. They're actually working against you, writing bills and trying to make sure that they can fatten their pocket. This is where we've been let down, and this is what scares me about government. The more we allow them to lead us, like education, like taxation, like the fact of all this stuff that Biden's trying to do to stop the sale of steel, a company that privately sells steel that can make millions of jobs and millions of dollars go to the American people, have been stopped. Banning the exploration of oil and gas, that kills tons of jobs, especially like in the Gulf Coast. This is where a lot of our workers go. They go to work in the Gulf on the oil rigs. Well, he's stopping that 14 days, 13 days before a new president. But no, your politicians are worried about their dollars more than they're worried about your dollars. I mean, some of these people made upwards of 40 to 50% on their money. Have you ever made that kind of investment decision where you make that kind of money? No. Republicans and Democrats alike are looking out for themselves and not for us. And then last story, let's talk about China. Now there's another sabotage going on when it comes to cables underneath the seas. This cable runs to Taiwan. Now why this is significant is because now they're suspecting that it's a Chinese ship. The last ones were to Europe. They were to Ukrainian areas, Russia areas. They were communications for the northern Baltic areas. Well, now they're saying this communication affects Taiwan. Now, what did we talk about just a few weeks ago? China was kind of surrounding Taiwan with ships. They were doing more drills. They were kind of surrounding that area over there. You have North Korea doing ballistic missiles over there. And Taiwan is sitting there. Now remember, we're supposed to take care of Taiwan and Japan because of the semiconductors and because of the trade agreements that we made after World War II. Now, there is lines that communication and thoroughfares go through when it comes to Taiwan that have been severed. So now we seeing them trying to basically isolate Taiwan. Are we seeing an uptick in the war efforts with China? Now, should we get involved in this? No. But I think this is where we have a weak leader, and this is still happening right before our eyes. Trump is coming in right now to cities falling to pieces. I mean, like San Francisco, they're now wanting, I mean, literally in San Francisco and around San Francisco, all these areas, they're now begging the highway patrol, the state guards, to come in and help them handle the stealing, the crime, the theft, the thievery, and to keep people safe. They're begging officers to come in because they feel unsafe. And then we have education systems falling to pieces. We have the fact that we can't even control. We're overtaxing the people in New York to drive in, but we want them to use the thoroughfares, the public transit, more government intervention. However, they won't keep them safe. We see now property tax being charged to people who don't even have homes anymore in North Carolina. This is the kind of stuff that Trump is walking into. And then internationally, China surrounding Taiwan. There's what they call a Trump effect, and it's happening with Trudeau, and it's happening with the fact that Starmer and the UK is starting to feel pressure. Those are great things. But Trump is fixing to walk into some crazy situations. And the question is he ready? Is he gaining wisdom? Is he trying to surround himself with the best people? That's not counting the fact that the gentleman from Louisiana died of the H5N1 is what they're claiming. And they blamed it on backyard chickens. So now they're going to fight the chicken, egg, and cow again. Trump has basically less than 2 weeks before he's president. But he's walking into a world of problems that the government, that your congressman, my congressman, that the president, that the vice president, that the Department of Defense, that Department of Education has all made in the name of trying to hurt Trump and to hurt the American people. Is North Carolina looking out for their people by charging them more tax for land they don't even have a house on anymore? They're not looking out for them. Is your tax dollars being spent right when they're going to the Taliban? Is your tax dollars being spent right when they're actually going to pay for schools that are failing? No. So what did I say the point of the video was? Sabotage. From international cable lines for telecommunication to literally right in our backyards, to where our government truly wants us ignorant, foolish, and basically dependent on them. Pay attention to these stories. I hope that Trump surrounds himself with true wisdom and some good independent thinkers, because he's going to need it to face this bureaucracy. Guys, let me know your thoughts. Again, all this just brings to the fact that you need to be more independent. You need to protect yourself. You need to make sure you're doing all you can to not only worry about your food and water, but your safety and security. What are you doing to defend your home? What are you doing to defend yourself? What are you doing to get out of debt? All these things are important, and I want you to focus on doing better each and every day for 2025. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think about this video. These things are worrisome, but remember, if we are spiritually prepping, serving Christ, praying over our nation, and then physically and mentally prepping, getting the things that we need, focusing on doing better, then we'll be okay. Guys, let me know your thoughts. God bless.